So, hello and welcome. My name is Shannon. My pronouns are they, them. And tonight we have a 30-minute restorative practice, which is going to be a combination of yin postures and prop supported restorative asana or postures. So, we're going to start in a seated position if that feels good for you. If you'd rather be reclined, please feel free. You can do the whole thing without props, but I'm also going to be offering options for props. So some of the props that might be helpful: blankets, bolsters, which I'm sitting on, and blocks. Um, and you can replace that with just a lot of blankets, or blankets and pillows. We can do that too. You can practice in bed, you can practice on a mat. If you want things to be a little extra comfy, you can place a blanket down as well for a little extra cushion. So we'll start by finding our way into whatever posture feels good for us. So I'm sitting in a comfortable seated position for me, which is feet together, knees apart. You can be cross-legged if you like. Sometimes raising the bum onto a pillow, blanket, bolster can be helpful. I'm going to bring the belly between the legs just so that I have lots of space. And we'll take a few moments to ground. I'm going to start by noticing the space around me, the sounds in my space as well. I live in the city, so you might hear cars, sirens, people yelling. But notice what's in your space too, so that we don't really have anything that'll surprise us too much later on. If we like, we might close our eyes or find a soft gaze, whatever feels comfortable. And we might take a few deep breaths, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth, maybe releasing with a sigh or vocalization. Doing our best to let go of the day so far. And when we have taken as many of these breaths as we need, we might return to our natural breath, whatever that looks like for us. Noticing the inhale and the exhale. Beautiful. We might take a few moments to notice where we feel the breath in the body, whether that's through the heart space, the belly, the shoulders, the back. No wrong answers. We're just noticing what we feel in the moment as we inhale and exhale. We might release our kind of focus on the breath and move into the rest of the body. Just taking a moment to notice if there's anywhere that feels particularly tender, tight, anywhere that's asking that we be a little careful with it. And we'll make note of those spaces so that we can be as kind to ourselves as possible today. Beautiful. We'll start bringing a little bit of movement into the body, maybe rocking front to back or side to side. Maybe in a circular fashion. It really just depends what feels right and what feels good for you. And we might just notice the sensation of the body moving, allowing ourselves to just kind of tune in a little bit more into where we are in this moment. Beautiful. And when we're ready, we might gently blink the eyes open. We're going to start with a little bit of movement through the arms and shoulders. So I'm going to reach my arms up, inhale, Stretch my arms out as far as I feel comfortable bringing them. Take another deep breath here. Then I'm going to bring the right hand towards the right shoulder, left hand under the right arm. Beautiful. Taking just a few breaths here. When you're ready, we'll open up nice and wide. And we're going to go ahead and switch arms. So this time we're bringing the opposite arm on top, right arm under. And just noticing where we feel this in the body. When we're ready, we'll open back up and release the arms down. Beautiful. We're going to come through a few cat-cow movements. So I'm going to start grounding down through the sit bones, finding a nice long spine up through the crown of the head. Legs can be however feels comfortable. Outstretched in a wide-legged position too is totally awesome. I'm going to take a nice deep breath, and as I do, I'm going to shine the heart forward, maybe gaze up towards the ceiling. And on my exhale, I'm going to round the spine, chin to heart space for cat. Inhale, cow, shining the heart forward, gazing up if that feels good. Exhale, rounding the spine, chin to heart space. Beautiful. We'll do 2 more on our own breath. And then we'll come back through center. Beautiful. From here, we're going to come down to the mat onto our bellies if that feels comfortable. I'm going to have maybe a bolster, blanket, or block up at the top of the mat. Move my other block out of the way. And if we're not using our bolster, we might just kind of push it off to the side so it stays out of the way for us. And we'll come down onto our bellies. There we go. Beautiful. So once we are down, I'm going to bring my elbows beneath my shoulders and bring my hands out in front of me. If this feels a little intense on the back, we can move the elbows forward of the shoulders. But right now, we're in Sphinx pose, so we can look straight ahead if that feels good. Or we can gaze down towards the mat or the floor. No wrong answer. We're just doing what feels best for us in this moment. We're going to hold here for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. Taking deep breaths. I like to notice that when I pull breath down into my belly, the body kind of rocks up and down with the breath. You might notice something different. Maybe you notice the back and the ribs expanding. Maybe you don't notice anything at all. That's okay too. So our yin postures generally are kind of deep release, deep stretch postures. But we can certainly tailor that by adjusting slightly. If we want kind of more restorative, we can bring our block or a pillow kind of under the chin, resting our chin. Whatever feels good. Our yin postures also generally we're holding anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes per posture. Generally a little bit lower than our prop supported asana. Now, if this feels especially good and we just want to stay here, we can. Or we can transition into a posture called seal. And we're going to do that by pressing into the hands and extending the elbows. So we're coming into a little bit more of a back bend. And again, we can kind of dial in how much back bend by how far the hands are away from us or how close they are. The closer they are, the higher up we are, the more intense the back bend. And we're going to hold this for about a minute. If this doesn't feel good after a while, or if you'd like a break, you can always come back down to our Sphinx posture with the elbows down. I like to kind of visualize the pelvis grounding down into the mat, into the earth. For me, this feels like a very grounding posture. And I can always use a little bit of a back bend, a little bit of a heart opener. And again, we can kind of adjust where we are with the neck. Maybe our neck's feeling a little tight. We'd like to look down. We can look straight ahead. We can even look a little up if we like. Beautiful. When we're ready, we can lower back down to the elbows. Take a moment here. And we're going to come through one more yin posture here, and that is going to be shoelace. Or sorry, not shoelace, bow tie. So for bow tie, we're going to keep the arms where they are. We're going to start by bringing the right arm, or I'm sorry, the left arm. We'll start with the left arm. Under the right arm, you might move the right arm a little bit forward, but we're trying to reach the fingers on the left side of the body towards the right side of the mat. And then we'll bring the right hand towards the left side of the mat. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust so you can hear me. Seeing if we can bring the elbows towards each other. We can stay here if we like. We can rest the head down against the body, or maybe we have to bring the head down to a block or down to the mat itself. sorry about the muffling. I just removed the mic so it's easier for you to hear me. So when we're ready, we're going to kind of reverse engineer our way back. I'm going to bring the right hand back as I bring the left arm out from under the right arm. And then I'll take a moment back in my Sphinx, so bringing both the elbows beneath the shoulder, hands forward. And then we're going to come to the opposite side. So this time I'm going to maybe move my left hand a little bit forward, bring the right hand underneath the left arm, bringing the elbow closer to the middle of the heart space. Now this might be different for everybody. We all have different levels of mobility, so do what works best. And remember, we have different mobilities on different sides of the body as well. And then we're going to bring the left arm across. So again, we're coming back into this kind of arm twisted position. And we'll hold here for, again, anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. I like to take a moment and notice the space between the shoulder blades. That's usually where I start to notice the stretch here. Remembering to breathe. Beautiful. We'll start to reverse engineer, bringing the left arm back to its starting position, then the right arm back. Again, taking just a moment here. And then we're going to transition to a seated position. We can do that however is most comfortable for us. I'm going to bring the hands beneath the shoulders, press through tabletop, bring the sit bones back for a moment, and then come into a seated position. Put my mic back. Never know how it's going to react when you're laying on your front. Okay. So from here, we're going to come into a wide-legged position if that feels good for us. And we have a few options here. So I'm going to grab my bolster. You can also use 2 blocks stacked on top of each other. You could pile pillows up. But we're going to come into a supported forward fold. And I have a couple variations for you. The first variation is a wide-legged fold. Legs apart, maybe bringing the belly in between the legs so we have lots of space. We can bring our bolster up and down to a vertical. We can stack our blocks. We can stack our pillows. And then from here, we can hinge at the hip, placing our head against the top of our support. And this is option 1. We can also place the bolster down in front of us, come forward and come into our fold this way if we have the mobility to bring the head down towards our bolster. And then there's a second variation. So for that, I'm going to bring the right legs in towards the body and then hinge forward in this Janushirshasana or half butterfly fold. Same options for supporting the head. We can hinge forward over the belly and find our fold this way. With this fold, we'll stop halfway through and switch to the opposite leg. Don't worry, I'll give you the time. I'll let you know when it's time to do that. But if you're wide-legged, you can stay in that wide-legged position for the entire duration of the fold. So again, maybe taking a few deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth as we rest against the support of the bolster, the blocks, Breathing in a way that feels comfortable. If you are in our half butterfly, you'll switch legs at this point. And we'll be here for another minute and a half or so. We'll take a deep breath. And when we're ready, we can slowly begin to press up. Beautiful. We're going to come into our final resting position. So for this, I'd like to offer a supported Shavasana. If you prefer a traditional Shavasana, you can certainly do that as well. That would be lying flat on our back with maybe a bolster or pillows beneath the knees. We can grab a blanket to pull over ourselves. If we have an eye pillow, we can place that on. For our supported Shavasana, we'll be using a bolster and a blanket. You can also use several pillows. I'm going to take a bolster and a block. I'm going to take my block and place it at the top of the mat. We can also do this with our higher ramp using 2 blocks, one in the upright position, one in the low position, creating this L shape. But I'm going to go with a slightly slower version today. So I'm just taking one block and placing it in the middle position. And I'm going to rest my bolster or pillows against that. And then if we do want a blanket to cover ourselves with, our eye pillow, make sure you have that handy. We're going to bring our bum against the base of our bolster or pillows and gently recline back. We have lots of options for our arms. They can come down to our sides, palms down. We can stretch them out a little bit more, palms up. And we can have them against the body if we'd rather. We have lots of choices. We can let the legs come out straight, maybe gently allowing them to soften, so they might roll out towards the sides of the mat. If you want, you can turn this into also a variation of what's sometimes called pentagram in Yin Yoga, which is stretching the legs out wide, stretching the arms out more into a T shape, palms up, taking up all the space that we could possibly need. And again, we might come back to the breath, noticing our inhale and our exhale, allowing ourselves to ground down through the props or supports that we're using today, through the mat, through the earth, all the way down, letting ourselves be held, supported, knowing that we can relax, release, let go because we are supported. Noticing the inhale, the exhale, allowing ourselves to soften and find rest. If we are comfortable where we are, we of course can stay here. If you're comfortable, we can let ourselves remain in this space. Maybe we bring the hands towards the heart space or press the hands anywhere against the body that feel good, that feel comfortable. And we'll take a few deep breaths together, whatever way feels comfortable for us. We might take a moment to thank ourselves for our practice today, for making space, for rest, for self-care. And I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. It means so much.